Welcome back. I want to start by asking you to try a little mental exercise with me. Think about the last time you used an AI assistant. Maybe you opened up ChatGPT, to draft a tricky email to your boss, or maybe you had an AI summarize some 50-page PDF you just did not have time to read. It's probably pretty helpful, right? Felt a bit like magic. But I want you to think closely about what happened the second you stopped typing. The moment you got your answer, close that browser tab, or slip your phone back in your pocket. What did the AI do? It did absolutely nothing. It vanished, went into a sort of digital coma. And that is the reality of the AI experience for, well, almost all of us right now. It's polite, it's incredibly knowledgeable, but it is fundamentally a session-based experience. It's a guest that politely leaves the room the moment you stop talking to it. It doesn't wonder about your day, it doesn't check on things for you while you're gone, and it certainly doesn't do any work while you're sleeping. But we're talking about a massive shift that is happening right under our noses. We're moving from chatbots that simply talk to agents that actually do. We're looking at a world where the AI doesn't sleep when you do. It stays awake, it monitors, it works, it executes. And to understand this shift, we have to talk about a specific tool that has just absolutely exploded onto the scene. And when I say exploded, I mean it. This isn't just a software update, it's a saga. It involves a viral rise to fame that breaks all the records, a bizarre identity crisis involving a trademark battle, and, I'm not kidding lobsters, a massive leap into commercial hosting, and unfortunately, a terrifying underbelly of security nightmares that could leave your digital life just wide open. I'm talking about the rise of the always-on agent, specifically a tool that has finally settled on the name OpenClaw. But you might know it, or might have heard whispers of it in tech circles, as Claudebot, or maybe more infamously as Moltbot. This is a story about how we went from a tech preview to a commercial product in mere weeks, and the very real question of whether you should trust a molting lobster with the keys to your entire digital existence. So let's unpack this. To really get the full picture, we have to rewind just a little bit to late 2025. Picture a developer named Peter Steinberger. He's a guy who clearly loves technology, but like a lot of us, he was probably looking at the landscape of AI tools and feeling a specific kind of friction. He likely thought, this technology is incredible, but why do I have to keep spoon-feeding it? Why do I have to be the one to initiate every single interaction? See, he didn't want a chat partner. He wanted a digital employee. He wanted a tool that didn't just live in some restricted browser window, but could actually reach out and touch the other parts of his computer. He wanted to connect language models to practical actions. And we're not just talking about answering trivia questions here. We're talking about an AI that can integrate with your WhatsApp to send messages, check your Telegram, monitor your Discord server, read your Slack channels, and even access the local files on your hard drive. Basically, he wanted to build a real-life Jarvis, a digital butler that runs the show. So he launches this project as an open source tool. And the reaction from the community, it wasn't just positive, it was hysterical. The growth curve for this project wasn't a curve, it was a vertical line. The GitHub repository, that's the library where the code lives, it jumped to over 100,000 stars in a shockingly short window. Now, if you aren't a software engineer, you might be thinking, what's a star worth? Well, in the world of open source software, 100,000 stars is like going platinum in a Wint. It's Beatles-level fame for code. It was absolutely viral. Everyone wanted a piece of it. But here is where things get messy. And honestly, a little bit funny if you appreciate the absurdity of the tech world. This project had a serious identity crisis. And this context is crucial because if you go looking for information on this tool, you're going to find a really confusing trail of dead names and broken links. So phase one, the project was originally called Claude, or sometimes Claudebot. The idea was simple, kind of clever. Sounded like Claude, the famous AI model from Anthropic, and it had the word claw in it, implying it could grab things and perform tasks. Made sense. Well, Anthropic's legal team didn't think it was so clever. They flagged some trademark issues, and that's pretty standard procedure when your little project sounds exactly like a billion-dollar competitor. You can't really blame them. So Steinberger has to pivot. And this is where the lobster theme really takes hold and things get weird.
He renames the project Moltbot.
Now stick with me here. The logic was that the project was molting, just like a crustacean shedding its shell to grow larger. It was a nod to the forced change, a way of saying we are changing our skin but we are growing bigger. It kept that whole aquatic shelled animal theme alive. The lobster became the informal symbol of the movement. It represented the ability to grab complex tasks with those big claws. But Moltbot, it didn't stick for long. It feels a bit biological, doesn't it? A little visceral. So just 2 days after that change, literally 48 hours, we hit phase 3, the final form, OpenClaw. It combines open source with that original Claw heritage. It sounds professional, sounds technical, and it avoids the lawsuit. So, if you're following along, we went from Clawbot to Moltbot to OpenClaw in the blink of an eye. And while that just sounds like a branding headache, it actually created this chaotic environment that scammers absolutely loved. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll get to the dark side of this in just a few minutes. First, I want to talk about the why. Why were people so obsessed with this thing? Why did 100,000 people rush to start this on GitHub? It's because OpenClaw promised something we all secretly want: autonomy. We want the technology to work for us, not the other way around. But there was a catch with this original version, a big one. The original OpenClaw was powerful, but it was local. It was tethered to your laptop. Imagine you set up this amazing agent to manage your calendar, watch your emails, organize your files. You feel like a productivity god. But then it's 1 p.m. and you close your MacBook to go grab a sandwich. Boom, the agent is dead. If the laptop sleeps, the agent sleeps. It couldn't be a true 24/7 assistant if it relied on your personal hardware being awake and connected all the time. It's like hiring a security guard who only watches the door when you're standing right next to him. It's not very useful. Plus, let's be honest about the barrier to entry here. Installing this thing was not for the faint of heart. We're talking about setting up Docker containers, navigating command lines, dealing with complex configuration files. It was a tool built by developers for developers. It scared off the regular users, the people who just wanted the magic without the headache. And that friction point, that desire for magic without the technical struggle, is exactly what led to the next massive development in this saga, the launch of MyClaw.ai. This is the shift from cool experiment to mass market product. MyClaw.ai launched as the first commercial plug-and-play deployment of this technology, and their pitch is incredibly seductive. They promise to turn that fickle sleeping agent into a persistent digital operator. And here's the difference. Instead of running on your laptop, your version of OpenClaw runs on a dedicated Linux virtual server that they host in the cloud. And this is key. It has root-level access on that server. Because it's on a server, not your laptop, it never sleeps. It removes the session boundary entirely. It can monitor your systems, execute workflows, respond to events, handle tasks at 3 in the morning while you're fast asleep. It is the Jarvis dream finally realized. And the best part for the consumer, they opened the waitlist to the mass market promising zero setup. No Docker, no command line, no coding knowledge required. Just sign up, and you have an agent that lives in the cloud and has the keys to your digital life. Now pause for a second. Does that sound amazing? Yes, absolutely. The convenience is undeniable. But does it also sound a little bit terrifying? If your alarm bells aren't ringing yet, let me ring them for you. We have to pivot sharply here, because this speed of development, this vertical growth, this rush to commercialize, this chaotic molting process, it came at a severe cost. Speed is the enemy of security, and in this case, the cost was high. Let's talk about Moltbook. During the peak of the viral explosion, when the project was still leaning into the Moltbot name, something emerged called Moltbook. It was pitched as a social network for AI agents. Just picture that for a moment. It's like Reddit or Twitter, but instead of humans posting and voting, it's bots. Bots powered by Moltbot or OpenClaw, posting content, upvoting things, interacting with each other. Sounds like a fascinating sci-fi experiment, doesn't it? A playground for AI. But according to research from a security firm called Wiz, this experiment was a security catastrophe. They dug into the infrastructure of Moltbook and found a misconfigured database that exposed, well, everything. We're talking about 35,000 email addresses. But honestly, in the world of data breaches, email addresses are small potatoes. The real killer, the thing that should make your blood run cold, was the exposure of 1.5 million API tokens. Now, if you're not technical, you might be wondering, what's an API token and why should I care? Oh, okay, think of a password like your house key. You use it to get in the front door. But an API token is like a magical master key that you give to a service like a cleaner or a delivery driver so they can come in and do specific things without you being there. It allows software to talk to other software. So if I have your Slack API token, I can read your private messages and send messages as you. If I have your OpenAI API token, I can use your account to generate content and rack up thousands of dollars in charges that you have to pay. An API token is a direct line to your digital identity in your wallet. So 1.5 million of these keys were just sitting there, exposed, to anyone who knew where to look. And here's the twist that makes this whole story feel like a fever dream. The researchers found that the user numbers on Moltbook were massively inflated. There weren't millions of people using this. There were only about 17,000 actual humans behind those 1.5 million agents. Because there was no verification required, people were just spinning up thousands of bots with simple scripts. It was a ghost town, populated by robots, all leaking their keys to the world. A massive security hole masquerading as a bustling community. But wait, it gets worse. It's not just the social network that was broken, it's the tool itself. Research from another firm, OX Security, dove into the actual code of Moltbot, the software people were installing on their own computers, and they found that it's riddled with vulnerabilities. The biggest one, plain text storage. In the world of security, storing passwords or API keys in plain text is the ultimate sin. It basically means writing your password on a sticky note and putting it on your monitor. It's not scrambled, it's not encrypted, it's just written there. Moltbot instances store API keys and passwords in unencrypted plain text files. This means if you have any malware on your computer, anything at all, it can read those files instantly. It's like leaving your house key taped to the front door with a sign that says "key is here." And even if you realize this and try to delete your credentials in the app, the researchers found that they often persist in backup files that the bot creates automatically. You think you scrubbed it, but the ghost remains. And remember how I mentioned the local versus cloud distinction? Well, a lot of people were running these local instances, but inadvertently exposing them to the internet. OX Security found over 1,200 instances of this software publicly accessible on the web. That's 1,200 open doors just waiting for a hacker to walk through. Now add the name game back into the mix. Remember the chaos of renaming from Claude to Moltbot to OpenClaw? Scammers saw that confusion and they pounced. When the project changed names, the old names were abandoned. So bad actors grabbed the old GitHub handles. They created malicious extensions for Visual Studio Code, a popular code editor developers use, that look like the official tools. So you had developers thinking they were downloading the latest update for ClaudeBot, but they were actually downloading a fake extension, one that installed remote access software on their machines. It was the Wild West out there. So here we are, we're caught in a paradox. On one hand, you have the Jarvis dream. The allure of the always-on agent is undeniable. We all want that productivity boost. We all want to wake up to an empty inbox and a perfectly organized calendar. We want the drudgery of digital life to be handled by a machine. But on the other hand, the ecosystem is a minefield. You have option A, the hosted convenience of myclaw.ai. It's easy, it's always on, but you are trusting a third-party platform, a very new one, with root-level access to an agent that controls your life. You are handing over the keys to the kingdom in exchange for convenience. Then you have option B, the local control of OpenClaw. It's privacy-focused in theory because it's on your machine, but it's technically difficult, and as we've seen, the software itself has been riddled with security pitfalls like plain text storage. If you aren't a security expert, you might be setting up a surveillance device against yourself without even knowing it. It's worth noting that Peter Steinberger, the creator, has defended the project by calling it a tech preview. In the software world, that is code for, this is a prototype, please don't use this for anything critical. It's a disclaimer. But the problem is, when something goes viral and gets 100,000 stars, people don't treat it like a preview, they treat it like a product. They hook it up to their bank accounts, their emails, their lives. They assume that because it's popular, it must be safe. And that is a dangerous assumption. So what should you do? If you're the type of person who loves to tinker, who hears all this danger and still thinks, I still want to try it, I need to give you a safety checklist. Consider this your survival guide for the lobster tank. First, and this is non-negotiable, never run these agents on your primary machine. Do not install this on the laptop you use for online banking. Just don't do it. The risk is too high. If you must run it, use a virtual private server, a VPS, or a completely separate old device that has nothing else on it. Treat it like a quarantine lab experiment. If it blows up, you want it to blow up inside a safe box, not in your living room.
Use burner emails. Do not give this bot access to your primary Gmail account where you get your password resets for everything else. Create a dummy account.
If the bot compromises that account, you lose nothing but a few test emails.
Two-factor authentication. 2FA. Enable it everywhere.
If a bot leaks your password, 2FA is your last line of defense. It's the deadbolt on the door when the lock has been picked. And finally, understand that open source does not automatically mean secure. A lot of people assume that because the code is public, it must be safe because many eyes are watching. But as we saw with the plain text vulnerability in Moltbot, sometimes those eyes are watching, but the doors are still wide open. Just because people can see the code doesn't mean they're fixing it. This entire story, the rise of OpenClaw, the Moltbot confusion, the MyClaw commercialization, is the perfect microcosm of our current AI moment. We are seeing incredible utility arriving at breakneck speed. The utility is real. The ability to have an agent book your appointments and manage your workflow is tangible. It's here. But it's arriving accompanied by chaos, confusing branding, and significant danger. I want to go back to that lobster metaphor one last time. It's actually more perfect than the developers even realized. A lobster molts so it can grow. It has to shed its shell to get bigger, but when a lobster molts, it loses its hard shell. For a period of time, it is soft, squishy, and it is extremely vulnerable to predators. It has to hide until its new shell hardens. This technology is molting right now. It's growing incredibly fast, shedding its old limitations of session-based chats. But right now, it is soft. It is shellless. It is vulnerable. And if you embrace it without looking, you might just get pinched. I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over as you go about your day. We are rushing toward a world of agents that run 24/7. We're building agents that hold our credit cards, read our emails, and have root access to our servers. We are building systems to manage our lives for us, to take the burden of doing off our shoulders. But if the agent is always on, and the agent has the keys, and the agent is making the decisions, at what point do we stop being the user and start being the item being managed? Stay curious, but please, stay cautious. Thanks for listening.